Well, it's Chords and Coffee with one of my favorite guitar players.
Well, thank you.
This is Randy Buckner, and Randy teaches lessons here at the Springfield store. And since the day that you and I met, which I felt like we ate something the first time we met.
Yeah, we went across the street to Big Whiskey's.
Yeah. That's a restaurant, folks. Before you start typing, Nate, are you okay? Did you fall off the wagon? I'm good. Went across the Big Whiskey's and had us a hamburger or something, and we instantly hit it off. And I am here to share with the world and all of my friends out there in the Chords and Coffee universe the wonder and the magic and the thrill that is Randy Buckner. Seriously, I love your playing.
Oh, thank you.
And you're an awesome guitar player, but you're also a hilarious person. And Randy is a what's the right word? A treasure trove, before you say some sort of self-deprecating humor there, of the
I'm working on it.
Yeah, of the history of not just Merle Travis technique and Chet Atkins and Jerry Reed, but certainly you are definitely a student of that. And if you look around this amazing guitar studio, there's all sorts of Merle, Chet, and Roy Clark, and Jerry Reed, and all kinds of great, Django, there's Les Paul over there, memorabilia on the wall, but also like Brazilian bossa nova is something that you're really into as well, right?
Yeah, that jazz, bebop jazz, I like that.
Yeah.
Swing jazz, any of it, fusion, whatever.
So Randy is, when I have the opportunity to soak up any guitar knowledge that I can from somebody in person, you're my go-to guy. And by the way, Randy was doing online video lessons pre-COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And
started around 2010, I think.
How did you evolve into that? Just real quick.
Reading a book. And there was a book on lessons, and at that time it was just kind of this novelty that, you can do lessons,
Mm-hmm.
The people really weren't comfortable with it at first, so I had just a few students, but it just kept snowballing.
And of course, once, COVID happened, it became pretty normal.
Yeah.
And in fact, kind of I'm not saying COVID was a godsend in any way, but I am saying, the way that things worked together for the good was that, people, like, if you had to miss a lesson, due to illness or even thinking like I may have something, all of a sudden the video lesson became good. So anyway, Randy has been doing the video lesson forever, so keep that in mind as you're watching this.
We taught people in England, Greece, quite a few states. I have a student in Oklahoma right now and one in Delaware.
That's awesome.
My guy in England, he's kind of busy at the moment, but he'll be back.
Yeah, what's the time? How do you do that?
That's the time? 6 hours ahead. So
okay.
Imagine he's taking a lesson at like 8 o'clock at night after working all day.
Which is actually not that bad if you think about it. Yeah. So anyway, there was a question here recently. It was actually on my Father's Day. Yeah, we'll bring it back around.
Yeah.
There was a question on the Father's Day video about using the thumb. Thank you for asking that question. And it was specifically in regards to on the left hand, assuming you're a right-handed guitar player, right? Now, Randy uses all his thumbs. And so I thought it would be really good. Maybe we should like play something like some kind of like country blues kind of thing or something like that, just to show them and if you can, kind of position yourself so they can see what you're doing with your right hand. And then I would love for you to talk about, think of this as a thumb picking lesson, sort of an intro. If you're like me, I use a flat pick, and we've talked about this a lot. When I play, I use my pick, but I also use my fingers, and sort of this isn't like a hybrid.
Yeah,
Travis
it's hybrid.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Phil Ball used to play that way.
Who was
that?
that?
A lot of Phil Ball. He was a Nashville studio guitarist.
Mm-hmm.
He had to take a straight pick. Pick one here.
Look at that coffee cup full of picks.
Yeah, he'd use his straight pick, and then he'd just kind of go. He'd do all that stuff, make sound just like Chet.
Could you do the same thing with? And you prefer to use what kind of thumb pick is
These
that?
are Fred Kelly's. This is the slick pick.
What do you like about that versus other things that are out there?
Right here, the shank.
Okay.
The shank is rounded. Chet and Merle would round this off the Dunlops and the Nationals that were available at that time.
So round it off so it's more like the heel of a
Yeah.
Not exactly,
Yeah,
but ish. Yeah, yeah.
There you go. See it?
Okay. Huh.
My back didn't go up. Hey, we're good.
That's right.
Oh,
Comment below if you
guys,
can relate.
on the videos.
Exactly. So
You were warned.
That's right. Let's hear this.
So with the thumb,
Yeah.
then what it does, this allows me to do that Travis stomp like that. So
That's awesome. So show us how are you approaching that? So he does not suck clearly, but how are you approaching that with your left hand? As far as like what are you thinking, and like what was one of the first exercises you did to get your left hand to accept this unnatural behavior?
the left hand or the right hand?
The right hand. I don't know what I'm doing. The right hand. Sorry. First time on Chords
Here's
Coffee.
the left hand. What I have a lot of people do, we have the exercise where you pick an easy chord like an A.
Uh-huh.
And I usually start people with Chet style. The difference between Chet and Merle, Chet would alternate. He would go almost like Luther Perkins.
So you're going A.
Yeah, 5, 4, 6, 4.
And is the 5, 4, 6, 4 the strings?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 5 is A, 4 is D, and 6 is E. So 5, 4, 6, 4. So
Just think Luther Perkins.
which is Johnny Cash's. So like all those Johnny Cash songs.
They know it. They know it.
Yeah.
They know Luther.
That's true.
Oh, it says here. There you go.
And Luther did that all the time.
Yeah, it's like keep going. There you go.
And did he use a thumb pick or did he flat pick
He
it?
uses a flat pick, so
I
you
got you.
get more of that little twang that way. We're going. Or actually, your other handy dandy Fred Kelly pick
Oh,
is the Bumblebee.
look at that.
There it is. It
Yeah.
has a pick attached to it. Then that lets me go.
Nice. And so you were saying, so Luther, or who was the other guy that did that? Was that Merle that did the Luther way, or was Chet?
Chet did it that way, but
Okay.
Chet was doing it before Luther. He was just imitating a bass player.
And then
But
what
Merle,
was
Merle would do, Merle would brush. So he would go. So it sounded like somebody was playing rhythm behind him.
Nice.
So you'd have it, it sounds like somebody's back there going.
Right. So, like a lot of things, like, did that evolve out of a guitar player trying to not just fill in the missing musician, but also like fill in the missing musician so that I can get a bigger slice of the pie?
Probably. And
Yeah.
also it was just, this specific style came from Kentucky.
Okay.
And it was Alice DeArmond was the Alice DeArmond Jones.
Is that the same DeArmond as the guitar?
No,
Okay.
yeah, same family name but not same family. So she lived in Kentucky. She lived in the late 1800s and through the early 1900s, and she played parlor guitar, which was what the young ladies did back then. So you do kind of some of that little. So she started doing that little alternating thing, and then her son Kennedy Jones picked up on it, and he started doing that, adding that pattern, and then Mose Rager and Ike Everly learned from him, and then Merle Travis comes along, and he learns it from Mose and Ike.
So how does Merle Travis, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but I just after hearing all that lineage of that technique, how does he get credit for doing that? Was he the guy that just got famous for it?
Yeah,
Okay.
he became famous, and then Mose and Ike became famous because of Merle. And Kennedy mostly played like nightclubs, things like that. There's the camera. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah. No, that's
How you
great. I
doing?
mean, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Because I feel like because you know so much of the history and sort of the pedigree of this technique and like all the nuance of it, that's one of the reasons why you're so amazing at it, is because you like understand like the subtle differences between all these different approaches, which I love. It's like, you know, the same thing as a chef, like knowing like, you know, just where all these ingredients come from and, you know, how it evolved over time, as far as, you know, most gourmet stuff started out as peasant food.
Yeah.
You know, and then eventually it evolves into something that's, you know, rare and highly sought after and its own experience. So that's the left hand in a nutshell, or the right hand, sorry. I keep confusing this. Yeah.
Left hand.
The right hand in a nutshell. But the question
Yeah, get to the
prompted
question, Nate.
was
Jeez.
the left hand part of
Focus,
it.
man. Focus,
Yeah, exactly,
focus,
I know.
focus,
So,
focus.
so the reason I wanted to get Randy in on this, besides of his awesome sense of humor and great guitar playing, is that you have this. Could you show him that thumb trick that you do?
Mm-hmm.
And the question was like, hey Nate, could you talk about using the thumb in your left hand to hold down a note, or even like, you know, just using your thumb in your left hand. Period. I don't know about you guys, but one of the first times someone showed me a G chord was what, you know, this kind of cowboy G, where you take your thumb over the low E string on the 3rd fret, and then you got your index finger on the B and the G, and you're muting the A string, right?
Yeah.
But I remember that as a kid. I remember thinking, that's not in the Mel Bay book. But, you know, but the guy showed me that, and when he showed me that, his whole, and this was a guy that was playing like, you know, honky tonks and, you know, a professional musician by the definition of someone was giving him money for his services, right? And so, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I just mean he was using it. He was working it. And he was showing me like, well, then you got your, you know, your other digits here, you know, free to do things, right? Is that a legit thing, or is that just...
That's the way Travis liked it. And Chet did both. Chet would bring his thumb up, but then he would also bar. But Merle used the thumb because he said if you're barring, you can't get this note down here.
I got you.
You know, these. So Merle was able to then go.
That's awesome. When you went to that C, was your thumb catching the C?
My thumb will do that.
Good Lord. Look at that. Can we get a close-up of that? A capo thumb. Do that thumb trick you do, if you don't mind. Watch
You know,
this.
that's how I test the guitars out. I won't even take it off the rack.
You can lay your thumb across that?
Then I'll take it off the rack, but if I can't do that, then I just don't even mess with it.
Yeah. Now, speaking of which, you favor, like, the Jaguar, like, the offsets.
Mm-hmm. The Jaguar, the Jazz Mesh. Now, I do like my tellies.
Yeah. What?
I have 3 tellies.
What nut is...
No collectible stuff. I'm a Esquire. I don't know.
Well, I've
What?
seen you play, and one of my favorite guitars that you play is that hand-built Big Red.
Oh, Big Red?
Yeah, and that's an Ison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's modeled after, is that a Super 400?
We finally figured out that I copied Merle Travis's Super 400, but then Chet's Super Chet right there.
Okay, I got
So
you.
it's a combination of like those 2 guitars and then a little bit of street rod.
I got you.
To kind of add some bling to it.
And do you know what nut width that you find yourself preferring?
I tend to like 11/16 and smaller.
Gotcha.
Usually closer to 10/16.
Gotcha. Which 1 and 11/16 isn't that's pretty easy to find on an electric guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for most of the time, if I'm going to do this, I tend to like smaller, although the fenders tend to be closer to the 11/16 or slightly under.
Yeah. So anyway, this thumb trick where you do the thing where you're moving your thumb all over the place.
Let's see here.
Yeah, get that in there.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. So we got this little thumb exercise I did.
Now, how many
Hello, Freddie
frets?
Green.
Now, how many frets? That's awesome. How many frets are you jumping on when you're doing that?
Third fret here, all the way up to the 7th.
And so you were on a G, and so you're on your 3rd fret, and then you had it go to the
5th fret.
So
I'm holding a G6 chord here.
okay.
This G6.
Oh,
There you go.
gotcha. So this G6 is index finger across the 5th fret from the D all the way down, and then you've got your ring finger on the 7th fret of the G string and pinky on the 7th fret of the high E.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're starting with your thumb on the 3rd fret.
Yep, just like that.
Yeah! And then 5th fret,
Mm-hmm.
and then 7th fret.
Yeah.
Good Lord. So, that's unnatural.
We figured out, me and some students figured out I have a deep V cut in my hand right here.
Oh, yeah.
So it's called I didn't work a lot as a kid. Much to the chagrin of my dad.
Well, you were playing guitar in the
playing guitar,
background,
yeah.
and providing the atmosphere.
So because of that, that allows my thumb then just to move all over the place.
Uh-huh.
And then you can even do that, like some of that Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff where you're going to... So your thumb lets all of your fingers move around. Then you can go...
Now I'm watching you do it from back here, and it seems like you're keeping just the knuckle bend of your thumb right there on the edge of the neck.
Mm-hmm.
And so is the string contact at the knuckle, or is it past the knuckle closer to like the nail, sort of right there in between?
Usually it's right in here. Right in there. Sorry. Yes, right there.
Okay.
I don't want everybody at home doing this.
By the way, when you
TV.
were, yeah, well, and it's okay. But when you're doing that Stevie Ray Vaughan thing, that's like the Jimmy thing, the Jimi Hendrix
Mhm.
thing, and that's
Jimmy, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Kenny Burrell, all those R&B blues guitarists, Wayne Bennett, all those guys.
I didn't think about Kenny Burrell, but that's pretty insightful because like that was an influence for both of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kenny had that really cool little descending riff I stole where he goes. Barney Kessel would do that too.
Yeah.
Barney would do that little riff and then his thumb would come up there.
So there's a thing that I heard you do before on do you remember the way you do "Girl" from Ipanema?
Mostly.
Well,
I remember the chords. I always change it.
that it was that when you go that.
Oh, my little walk up.
Yeah, that thing. So you got F, and it's F major 7, and then the regular chords, the bass chords, F major 7 to G7, right?
G7 sharp 4.
So the G dominant Lydian.
You are correct.
It's a G dominant 7, so it's a G with an F in it, but it also has a C sharp in it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the next chord is G minor 6 or G minor 7, right?
7th, minor 7.
Minor 7, and then C with a F sharp in the bass, right?
You can look at it either way. You can look at it as either a G flat 7 raise 4 or a C7 flat 5. They're both identical.
Yeah.
This is however your brain wants
So
to
here's
process it.
the quick voicing for those. So good old F major 7, like you would do your first F major 7 when you got your index finger on the first fret. Yeah, if you want to show the chord, I'll call out the stuff. First fret of the B string, high E is open. Your middle finger's on the second fret of the G, and then your ring finger is on the third fret of the D string, and then your thumb is now reaching over for that F on the first fret of the E.
I will do, a lot of times I'll do both. So my F major 7 looks like an A minor with an F.
Okay, so instead of doing what I just laid out there, keep your index finger on the B string first fret, but then now you're going to put, just like an A minor, your ring finger on the second fret of the G, and then middle finger on the second fret of the D.
Mm-hmm. Well, it depends on what's going on. If I'm backing a singer, if I'm backing a singer, it's just the two of us, or if it's a trio or a band, or if you're playing it, because a lot of times I'm moving voices. So a lot of times I'll start here, but I might morph into your pattern as well. So I might go.
That's awesome. I love that. And I don't know if you caught it when you went to the second chord. This is actually the same voicing as the turnaround chord of this passage. So in this chord, now I'm going to give it to you without the thumb first, because
Thumb.
yeah, without the, what did I say, thumb?
Yeah, I thought you said without the phone.
Without the thumb,
Okay,
yeah. Without the thumb first. So middle finger is going to be on the third fret. Of the low E on that G note, and then skipping the A, and then ring finger on the third fret of the D, and then pinky on the fourth fret of the G, and then now index finger is going to be on the second fret of the B. Right? And so it's a G7 sharp 11, right?
Sharp 11, sharp 4.
Sharp, yeah. And so then, remember that shape. Because after this, we're going to go to good old G minor 7, just index finger laying across, third fret all the way across, and then ring finger on the fifth fret of the A, right? And then the turnaround chord is the shape that we just did on that G7 sharp 4 or sharp 11. The difference between the 4 and 11 is how you feel about naming it, first of all. 11 would indicate that you have to be an octave above the root. Right?
Yeah, and it's a lot to do with the piano, because you'll have the ninth interval in the chord as well.
Yeah, I didn't think about it. How
we don't have enough fingers here.
Yeah. It's funny without getting too far on a tangent. Like from day one, when you're learning to play guitar, it's like the rules don't quite apply to us the same way they apply to all the other instruments.
Yeah.
It's
like our G minor 11th is a little different.
Yeah.
One thing you have to do is you do the Ted Green thing, where if you want the full on, then you go.
Oh, nice. I want to come back to that. But we got, so that chord that we just did a second ago, you're just going to slide that down.
Yes.
And this is that, would you look at this as F sharp or G flat in this case? It doesn't matter, but I'm just curious.
G flat's easier to wrap your mind around.
Okay, so it's a G flat 7 with a flat.
No, it's got the sharp 4.
Oh, sharp 4. That's right. Yeah, G flat 7.
Now, some people, it's easier for them to think of it as a C7 flat 5.
Yeah. So here's what we're talking about.
Both are correct.
Yeah, and
I'll accept both answers.
Exactly. And right now you're probably going, "What in the world are you talking about?" Well, it's super simple. So what we just did here on this G, where we have the G7 sharp 4, just slide it down. So you've got your middle finger on the second fret of the low E. You've got your ring finger on the second fret of the D. Pinky is on the third fret of the G, and then your index is on the first fret of the B. Now, if you look at that chord, it's like a G7, or excuse me, a C7, right?
Yes, I'm looking at the chord you told me to.
Exactly, but instead of the bass being on the C, the bass is just on this F sharp or G flat.
Ah, okay.
That's it, easy peasy. And that's a really cool chord. So the whole thing we've got. Back to that. if you want Randy to guide you through Girl from Ipanema, he can surely do it. But isn't that great? I love all the countermelody. And when you're doing that that second chord, the G7 sharp 4 with your thumb, what is your placement on that?
You mean?
Yeah, when you're using your thumb. Yeah.
She's like right across the pad right there.
I got you.
But what that does then, it allows me to do all those little moving voices. Rather than just going. Well, sometimes I will stop there, but let's do this one. There we go. So then that just allows me to be more of a counterpoint behind whoever's doing what.
I love that. So could you take them through the whole, like the whole that little counterpoint melody that you did, that kind of that real bossa dancey thing?
So I'm doing that.
Great.
It is great.
That's right. If you want to see more from Randy, please comment below. Before we go, show me that Ted Green thing you just did a second ago. Ted Green, the guitar teacher of guitar teachers, and just left us too soon. Probably when you talk about, like, I don't think this is too bold, in the same breath that you talk about someone like Bach. Bach. Understanding harmony.
Bach?
Yeah, Bach. Bach. Ted Green understood harmony, like just the concept of chords, and incredible. If you haven't gone down the Ted Green rabbit hole, we've talked about Ted Green before, but this would be a good time after this video is over and it was Green with an E at the end of it, right?
Yes, like the county.
Yeah. There you go. Green County down here in Springfield.
He and Jimmy Weibel both did that really cool.
Moving lines, but also really, really rich harmony. And so what was that thing you just did where you...
Really quick for it, Ted Green, Jimmy Weibel, and Jerry Reed all looked at music horizontally.
Okay.
Moving voices. Most people look at it vertically from the chord, right? So you get that... Or even... Well, Jerry and everybody would look at it, and Jimmy would look at it two different lines, or three or four. So then you have the...
So then when you're looking at it like that, do you have to learn one line, get it down, and then learn the next line, and then get it down, and then combine them?
For a while.
Yeah.
There's a couple of books of Jimmy Weibel's out. I believe there's some lessons online from Ted Green his students have posted, and then there's a couple of cool books of Jerry Reed's where he's doing that. But Tom Bresch told us that one of our thumb picking weekends we used to have in Arkansas, he said that Jerry would always just look at it like there was a horn section and everybody's moving differently.
That's cool. How long have you been playing?
50 years this year.
How would you encourage somebody that is an adult that's just getting started? Because you have a lot of adult students. Like, I would say, like, just in watching your studio come and go, it's almost like the majority. And when I'm saying adult is, 18 and up. You know what I mean? But like
my oldest right now is 82.
82-year-old student just getting started.
My oldest was 90. He actually was a veteran in the South Pacific.
That's awesome. Well, what do you say to somebody that's like, because a lot of times we try to encourage one another, and a lot of times people will say things like, well, I got started too late. I just don't believe that that's possible.
No, everybody's inherently musical. It's just getting all of the, well, my guitar was a case in point, getting all the noise out of the way in your head. Yeah. And just kind of approach it like you would as a kid. A lot of times I just will have people circling back around like a good comedian where I have people do this and then put one note. And then make a half note. Quarter notes. Eighth notes. And then have him put the notes in between. And then once you're comfortable with all that jazz, then you go.
That's nice.
And you just do that with each chord. When I started, they didn't have that. And so I studied classical guitar for a while, and they had all those just hundreds and hundreds of right hand exercises. And it puzzled me that there wasn't anything like that for the Chet style. And so it would have been so nice just to have somebody go, okay, well, now when you're on the E chord, you go.
Yeah.
You know, so that would have helped a lot.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, if you're interested in taking lessons from Randy, comment below and we can steer you on that. Actually, you can just go to palenmusic.com and there's a lessons thing,
Yeah.
and then you can literally book your own lesson. You don't need me to help you, but I'm happy to help you if you like.
You just look for that handsome devil's face on the page.
He's talking about himself. Hey, before we go, show us that chord, and then we'll get on to the rest of the day here.
So here it is.
So
It's a D minor ninth chord.
Okay.
So we've got.
So it's an F major 7 with a D in the bass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, D minor seventh has an F major seventh in it. Has
Yeah.
an A minor triad in it, an F major triad.
Boy, what a great way to cap this thing off. So what he's talking about is index finger across the 5th fret on the E, the B, and the G strings. So there's your A minor. Now ring finger is going to go on the 7th fret of the D, and now pinky is going to go on the 8th fret of the A. Now this becomes F major 7, and then now we're going to transform it one more time by putting the D on the 10th fret of the low E, and you have. Oh, that's cool. And so you got to kind of rake it with your thumb, right?
Or you can go the other direction with your pinky, just whatever.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so you can move that around. That's a cool trick for the next time you get together with your guitar playing buddies, and you should, because you know why? Because if you're watching this, you are part of the most encouraging guitar community on the internet and anywhere else. Absolutely. Thanks for watching Chords and Coffee. We will see you next week. Comment below if you want Randy to jump back on one of these. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to have you.
It's a pleasure being here. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day, guys. We'll see you.